As they ventured deeper into the second region, magical beasts began to appear, many concealed beneath the snow, striking from ambush. With danger lurking at every step, the women soon stopped paying attention to Yuan, turning their focus entirely to their own safety. Of course, a few of them couldn't resist sneaking glances at Yuan, who trailed behind in silence, almost like a stalker. That said, there were still thousands of miles separating them. Eventually, one of them realized that no magical beasts had attacked Yuan for several days, even though their own group was assaulted constantly. This left them greatly puzzled. Yuan made no attempt to conceal his presence, nor employed any special means, yet for reasons beyond their understanding, the magical beasts left him untouched.
Why aren't the magical beasts attacking him?
One of them finally asked.
What if he's not trying to impress us, but instead using us as bait?
Another suggested cautiously.
Elder, should we question him? He's only a golden immortal, so I doubt he can do anything to us, but I have a bad feeling about him.
The woman leading them said calmly.
We've been moving in a straight line since entering White Hell. It might just be a coincidence. If you're that concerned, we can stop and let him pass us.
The others agreed with her suggestion and chose to rest. They carved out a massive crater in the snow before settling down inside it. A few minutes later, Yuan had caught up to them. They silently hoped he would keep flying past, but their expressions darkened when he suddenly stopped directly above them.
I knew it. He's up to no good.
One of the ladies hastily exclaimed. 2141 White Hell, 3. When the group of ladies noticed Yuan stopping right above them, they hastily retrieved their weapons and prepared to fight him.
What do you want from us, you stalker?
One of them shouted at him. Yuan raised an eyebrow.
Stalker? Just because we're heading in the same direction doesn't mean I am stalking you. It's just a coincidence.
He calmly replied.
Then why did you stop? If you're not here for us, then hurry up and get lost.
After a moment of silence, Yuan responded.
In that case, I'll stop bothering you and be right on my way. Sorry for the disturbance.
Without another word, Yuan flew away.
What a creepy fellow, right?
Only after Yuan's presence vanished entirely did the group allow themselves to breathe freely, settling back into their rest. However, their rest was short-lived, as the earth beneath them quaked without warning, sending a jolt of alarm through the group.
What's going on?
The leader's voice rang out sharply.
An ambush. Take to the air.
At that instant, the ground split wide, and from its depths burst a colossal serpent, its body clad in translucent scales that gleamed like sculpted ice.
It's a White Hell glacial serpent, the strongest magical beast in the second region. Run. We don't stand a chance against a monster like that. Scatter.
The group quickly scattered in different directions, hoping to confuse the serpent. But the beast was swift and decisive, striking immediately at the weakest among them. Unfortunately, there was nothing anyone could do for her. After several moments of desperate struggle, the female cultivator was devoured by the beast. However, the beast was not satisfied and immediately chased after its next prey. In truth, Yuan had noticed the magical beast and wanted to warn them, but they chased him away before he could do so, even calling him a stalker. A few days later, Yuan stepped into the third region. Here, the hail grew even more violent, its force great enough to pierce through ordinary spiritual energy. To withstand it, one needed immortal chi, making this region accessible only to immortal cultivators. Your cold resistance has improved. Though his cold immunity was progressing much faster than the second region, it was hardly enough to satisfy Yuan, so he continued going deeper. As Yuan traversed the third region, magical beasts at the golden immortal level would constantly attack him. Unlike the second region, the beasts in the third region did not fear his aura. Naturally, none of them posed even the slightest threat to him, and all it took was a single attack with Supreme Sword aura to one-shot the beasts. Since he had come to train, Yuan didn't bother using immortal chi to shield himself from the hail. Though the ice shards couldn't pierce his skin, each impact left a layer of frost, freezing his flesh on contact. Your cold resistance has improved. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed, and Yuan stepped into the fourth region. Here, the hail had ceased, and the skies were clear, yet the temperature had dropped even further. The cold was so intense that Yuan's body was continuously being frozen just by existing within it.
Still not enough.
Yuan muttered as he proceeded to make his way toward the fifth region. Although his cold immunity had been pushed to its limit after consuming the tier of the azure heavens, it still had not reached the realm of cold harmony. A few hours into his journey toward the fifth region, Yuan spotted a lone figure locked in battle with a mammoth-like magical beast. The creature was nearly the size of a small mountain, and a gleaming blue crystal was embedded between its brows. The cultivator was at the first level of God Ascension, while the beast was only at the true immortal realm. Yet the extreme cold rendered her movement stiff, and much of her focus was spent maintaining a shield of immortal chi to protect her body. Not wishing to disturb her, Yuan quietly flew past without stopping. Some time later, Yuan finally reached the border of the 5th region. Even without stepping inside, he could sense that his cold immunity would be useless there. Unlike the previous 4 regions, the 5th was a mountain valley, where a raging snowstorm howled between towering peaks in every direction. After mentally preparing himself, Yuan entered the 5th region. The instant he entered the 5th region, Yuan's body began turning into an ice statue. Your cold resistance has improved greatly. Still not content with the progress speed, Yuan chose to advance toward the 6th region. Yet without a sun stone or other protective treasure, his body froze solid the instant he attempted to proceed. Thus, he summoned forth his true primordial fire, engulfing himself in its blaze as though donning a fiery armor, to withstand the frigid domain. With the true primordial fire shielding him, Yuan's body instantly thawed, granting him freedom of movement once more. In fact, the fire's power was so overwhelming that he couldn't even feel the cold in the slightest. Without hesitation, Yuan flew straight into the 6th region. The deeper one ventured into white hell, the smaller each region became. While it had taken him nearly 3 months to travel from the outer region to the 5th, it required only a single week to reach the 6th. Upon entering the 6th region, Yuan began searching for a suitable place to cultivate. After a few minutes of wandering, he settled on a random cave and stepped inside. Once he was ready, Yuan extinguished the true primordial fire. The warmth vanished in an instant, and his body was immediately overwhelmed by the immense cold, freezing him solid like a statue and turning his very blood to ice. Your cold resistance has improved drastically. Despite every inch of his body, even his organs and blood, being frozen solid, Yuan remained alive, forced to endure the endless agony. Time flowed swiftly, and before long, a year had passed. Throughout it all, Yuan remained encased in ice, an unmoving statue in the heart of the 6th region. 2142 White Hell, 4. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years slipped by since Yuan began his cultivation in White Hell's 6th region. For all that time, he remained a frozen statue within an unremarkable cave, one among countless others scattered through the land. While he had spent most of that time alone, sometime during his 2nd year, he received an unexpected visitor. It happened one seemingly ordinary night, when a lone figure suddenly flew into his cave and crashed to the ground. The intruder was a woman, her body battered with wounds and stained with frozen blood. However, having fallen unconscious shortly after entering the cave, she remained unaware of Yuan's presence. For the next few days, she lingered in a fragile slumber, surviving only thanks to the sun stone clutched tightly in her grasp. Upon awakening, her eyes fell upon Yuan, and for a moment she was startled. However, she quickly calmed once she mistook him for nothing more than a frozen corpse.
Damn it, you scare me for a moment,
she muttered, sitting up and leaning her back against the wall. For the next several days, she kept her eyes fixed on the cave's entrance with unwavering vigilance, as though expecting someone to appear.
I doubt they would be foolish enough to follow me to the 6th region,
she muttered. The next moment, she retrieved several recovery pills and swallowed them, beginning the process of healing her injuries. Although she could have hastened the process through cultivation, she chose not to risk exposing her presence and relied solely on the pills for recovery. A few weeks passed, during which the female cultivator stayed inside the cave without once stepping outside.
At this rate, I should fully recover in about a year,
she muttered as she looked at the sunstone in her grasp.
I'm glad I bought this million-year sunstone after all. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to hide in the 6th region at all,
she sighed. Though the million-year sunstone was considered most effective only up to the 5th region, it could still aid entry into the 6th if the cultivator possessed other advantages, such as unique physiques or powerful treasures. In her case, she had a heaven-defying physique that granted her powerful resistance to the Yin element, naturally giving her cold immunity.
Those hateful bastards. Once I recover from my injuries, I'll tear them limb from limb.
Once the female cultivator was certain her pursuers would not suddenly appear, she turned her full focus to recovery. After 10 months had passed and the majority of her wounds had mended, the female cultivator's eyes snapped open. A sound unlike any she had heard in this cave reached her ears, the sharp crack of ice breaking. Until now, only the endless howling of the snowstorm had filled the silence. Startled, she stood and turned toward the sound reverberating from the cave's depths. But bewilderment followed, for the only thing at the far end was the frozen corpse, unmoving since the day she had first stumbled upon it nearly a year prior. It had never crossed her mind that the frozen figure might still live. After all, it was completely unprotected, and not even a God Ascension cultivator could survive in this region without some form of protection. When the noise ceased, the female cultivator cautiously approached its source. A moment later, upon reaching the end of the cave, her eyes widened in shock and disbelief. The ice statue she had long assumed to be a corpse was no longer frozen, and standing before her was a man, very much alive.
HM, who are you?
Yuan asked with mild surprise, not expecting company the moment he awoke from cultivation. During his training, he had entered a trance-like state of enlightenment, fully immersing himself and remaining unaware of the female cultivator's presence until he broke free from the ice. The woman could not bring herself to answer. She simply stood there, eyes wide and lips parted in shock, unable to comprehend how this man had endured the merciless cold of the 6th region without the slightest protection. However, the woman quickly snapped out of her daze and stammered.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were alive. I hope I haven't disturbed your training. No, it's fine. I didn't even realize you were here until I woke up.
Yuan said calmly, waving his hand in a dismissive gesture. He then noticed her blood-stained body and asked,
Are you okay? I will take my leave now.
Without another word, the woman turned around and quickly left. Yuan silently watched her depart, making no attempt to stop her. You have achieved cold harmony. His attention shifted to the notification. Completed harmonious heaven refining immortal physique has begun to evolve. Progress, 5%.
How long have I been cultivating?
Yuan asked the others.
3 years.
Yuning calmly responded.
3 years, huh? Not bad, but my training is not finished.
Although he had attained cold harmony, it had yet to reach its full potential. Thus, Yuan left the cave shortly after and began making his way toward the 7th region, determined not to leave White Hell until he achieved the highest attainable realm of cold immunity. Over the course of 5 days, as Yuan made his way toward the 7th region, he encountered only one magical beast. The 6th region's environment was so merciless, so inhospitable, that only the rarest of creatures could exist within its bounds. As Yuan stood at the border of the 7th region, his eyes widened at the sight ahead. On the horizon, a titanic beast, mammoth in form, loomed, its massive frame so towering it rose above the tallest mountains themselves. However, what truly caught his attention was not the mammoth itself, but the faint silhouette of a human, barely visible, seated upon the beast's head. Yuan narrowed his eyes at the distant figure. Though he could not make out their features, he could clearly feel the weight of their gaze fixed upon him. However, the gaze did not linger, and a moment later the mammoth disappeared into the horizon. 2143 The Demon Sealing Factions Return. Once the colossal mammoth and the silhouette disappeared, Yuan entered the 7th region before looking for a random cave. The 7th region was so frigid that even with cold harmony, Yuan needed to cloak himself in true primordial fire just to move. Without it, he would be frozen instantly, reduced to an ice statue. Some time later, Yuan sat cross-legged within a cave and withdrew the true primordial fire, allowing the cold to engulf him, thus beginning his training anew. Normally, it would take thousands, if not millions, of years to advance cold harmony to the next level. But Yuan was forcing his body to the extreme. What truly accelerated his progress, however, was his heaven-defying physique. The heaven-refining physique was a one-of-a-kind existence, so rare that most cultivators had never even heard of it. It first appeared in the primordial era, when Tianyang stumbled upon the heaven-refining crystal that granted him this physique. Yet, even after countless years and many reincarnations, Yuan still could not uncover the true origin of that crystal. Still, despite possessing the heaven-refining physique, Yuan would continue his seclusion in the cave for no less than a decade. Meanwhile, in the 7th heaven, the members of the Demon Sealing faction returned to the super-perfect physique-tempering sect after spending over a decade training in the outside world, gaining experience as cultivators. Once everyone had returned safely to the sect, they gathered to share their experiences.
It's been a while.
Wang Ming said with a smile.
How was your journey? It was a pain in the ass.
Chu Liuxiang sighed.
No matter where we go, people are always trying to hit on us. And when we brush them off, it somehow always turns into a fight. Thanks to that, my combat experience is now through the roof. Fortunately, my group was made up entirely of men, so we didn't have to worry about anyone hitting on us.
Shi Lang said.
Even so, we still ran into plenty of trouble, mostly cultivators trying to take advantage of us. You guys are getting into fights? Pretty much all of my encounters back away after learning of my background,
said Wu Zhao. The others looked at Wu Zhao and sighed.
You're using Kellen's name as a shield? How are you going to gain experience if you avoid everything? It's not like I avoided every fight. I just avoid the ones I find a pain in the ass.
Once they finished talking about their journey and experiences, Wang Ming asked.
Hey, have you heard anything from Yuan? It's been a while since we last heard from him.
Meishio shook her head and said.
No, he hasn't contacted us since he went to this place called White Hell for training.
Before they parted ways, Yuan gave Meishio, Chu Liuxiang, and Yu Ro a communication jade slip, allowing them to speak with each other even across great distances. Still, not wanting to interrupt his cultivation, it was usually Yuan who initiated the conversations.
It's been nearly 20 years since we last saw him, and to think back then, we worried when he was gone for only a few months.
Wang Bingbing remarked.
What can we do? As our cultivation increases, so will the time we need to progress. Although it's been nearly 2 decades, it oddly doesn't feel that long.
Wang Ming said.
In the future, we might see each other once every few hundred, if not a few thousand years.
Shi Meili said.
This is just the nature of the cultivation world.
Kellen, who was also there, remarked.
However, you'll quickly get used to it. That said, to think he'd go train at White Hell. He's truly the most reckless person I know. What's that place like?
Shi Murong asked.
It's one of the coldest and most perilous regions in the 9 heavens.
Kellen replied.
There exist 4 domains that cultivators universally avoid, known as the Forbidden Zones. White Hell stands as the 3rd most dangerous of them all. Unless you have a powerful physique or a sunstone from the Sun God's temple, you can forget about visiting that place. Have you ever been there?
Wang Ming asked him.
I've been there several times for training. It's not a pleasant place, especially since I hate the cold.
Kellen shuddered just from recalling his experience within White Hell. Sometime later, Hong Xiuquan asked.
Senior Kellen, what should we do next in our training? Honestly, there's only one thing you can do if you wish to continue improving, and that is to train at other sects. One's better suited to your specific needs.
Kellen replied.
As much as I would like to continue guiding you guys, I have already given you all I can in the basics as a cultivator. From here on, you must refine your own specializations.
He continued.
For example, Wang Xiuing, since your focus is alchemy, I'll recommend you to one of the top sects for alchemists. And Wang Ming, with your swordsmanship, I'll send you to a sword sect. It doesn't have to be a sect, either. I can find you personal teachers if you wish. Of course, if you wish to stay here, I won't stop you.
After a moment of silence, Kellen spoke.
I'll give you all some time to think over it. Once you are decided, I will speak with. I'm willing to go.
Wu Zhao immediately gave a response.
I'm already noticing a drastic decline in my progress, after all.
Before Kellen could say anything else, the others also responded.
I will also go,
said Wang Ming.
Me too,
said Shi Lang. In the end, everyone but Li Jinsi gave a response, agreeing to train at other places.
All right, I'll speak with Senior by later. Not only does he have more connections, but he has much more experience in this field than I do.
Kellen nodded.
What about you, Li Jinsi?
He turned to ask her a moment later. Li Jinsi pondered for a moment before responding.
I think I will continue training by myself. Are you sure? With your talents, you could easily get into the top sects with ease, even without our help.
Kellen said, worried that she might be wasting her potential.
I am.
She confidently confirmed.
If you say so.
Despite saying that, Kellen wasn't going to give up easily. Let's see if Senior Bai can convince her. He thought to himself. 2144 The Demon Sealing Factions Return, 2.
What about us?
Shi Meili suddenly asked, referring to herself and Leah, as they were both dragons. Kellen gave her a stiff smile.
To be honest, I'm not sure. I do have a few non-human friends I could reach out to, but I can't promise anything. Do you know of any place where you could train?
Shi Meili fell silent to ponder, and after a minute of silence, she said.
I do have a place in mind, but I'm not sure they'll be okay with it.
Kellen raised an eyebrow and asked.
Where's this place? The Holy Dragon Clan. I trained with them for some time when I went there with Yuan, and I really enjoyed it. If it weren't for the Celestial Emperor, I would have stayed there to train a little longer.
In truth, Shi Meili wanted to stay behind with the Holy Dragon Clan at the Dragon Spiral Mountain, but after what happened to them, she felt that it would be inappropriate for her to linger, so she ultimately decided to leave with Yuan.
The Holy Dragon Clan, huh? In that case, I think it would be for the best if you personally reached out to them. Aren't they the ones at the Dragon Spiral Mountain?
Leah asked after recalling their name. Shi Meili nodded.
That's right. You saw them right after arriving in the 9 heavens.
Leah recalled the mountain of corpses she saw and asked.
Do you think I can come with you? Of course. It was already my intention to bring you along.
Kellen spoke a moment later.
I'll contact the others immediately, but it might take some time for a response. You can do whatever in the meantime.
Once their meeting concluded, the members of the Demon Sealing faction returned to their living quarters to rest. Many of them decided to log out of Cultivation Online to train their real bodies on Earth. After logging out, Meishio left her room to visit Uro and the Eternal Lotuses, who had risen to become the second strongest faction on Earth in the last several years.
It's been a while, Senior Sister Meishio.
As she passed through, the members of the Eternal Lotuses bowed their heads, greeting her with utmost respect. Although Meishio wasn't officially part of their faction, she often visited to train them. The other members of the Demon Sealing faction would also stop by from time to time, but with everyone following their own schedules, it had become rare for them all to gather together.
Are you here to train us today, or are you here for Senior Sister Uro?
The members approached her and asked.
I'm here for Uro today. I'll train with you all next week.
She said.
Okay.
Meishio arrived at their courtyard a few minutes later, where at the center stood a tall, beautiful woman instructing a group of younger girls. The woman had long, silky black hair and warm brown eyes. Her very presence radiated a natural grace that drew people to her.
Your posture is wrong. Move your hip a little to the right, and straighten your back some more. Yes, Senior Sister you.
The woman was none other than Uro. Meishio didn't disturb their training and waited for them to be done. An hour later.
Okay, we will end our training here today. We'll continue next week at the same time. You're all dismissed.
As the group of females dispersed, Uro approached Meishio with a calm smile.
It's been 2 years, Meishio. How have you been? I just finished my journey and have returned to Heavens Sect for now. What about you? The same as usual. Training the newbies. Is it just your group that's returned? The others have returned as well. Everyone is safe and sound. That's good to hear.
Knowing that Uro will ask about Yuan, Meishio mentioned him first.
Unfortunately, Yuan is still away.
She said.
Is that so? Can't say I'm surprised.
Uro replied with a bittersweet smile. Don't be too hard on him. Uro chuckled softly.
Don't worry, I don't blame him at all. Still, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little sad or lonely. I know he has a lot on his plate, but it's been nearly 20 years since I last saw his face. If you consider the other times he's been absent and how long we've been alive, it's about half of our lifetime. I know how it feels, but trust me, it will get better. I know. Anyway, what are you going to do now that you've returned? I'm going to rest a little before I continue my training at another place.
Meishio proceeded to tell Uro about Kellen's plans for the Demon Sealing faction.
So, you guys will be doing your own things separately, huh? It makes sense, considering you all have your own talents and path.
Sometime later, another presence approached them.
Hello, Sister Lianhua. Hey, Meishio.
Bai Lianhua returned the greeting.
Mind if I join? No, go ahead.
Bai Lianhua sat down beside them, and the three of them started chatting. After Meishio recalled the end of her training journey, Bai Lianhua spoke about the Eternal Lotuses and Earth's overall situation. Ever since Yuan opened the gateway between Earth and the 9 heavens, flooding the world with spiritual energy, cultivators on Earth had advanced at a pace unlike anything before. Yet, no matter how far their cultivation rose, they soon discovered they could only wield the strength of a spirit grandmaster. This meant that even Spirit King cultivators on Earth were no stronger than a spirit grandmaster. Since Yuan secretly created the formation that limited everyone's cultivation, nobody but the Demon Sealing faction knew the cause of this phenomenon. Thus, much like the phenomenon of Cultivation Online, no one questioned it, choosing instead to continue their lives as usual. However, Meishio knew that things would not remain this way forever and that they needed another solution sooner or later. Congratulations, you have finished listening to the current content. Congrats. 2145 You families return. After spending half a day with Yu Ro and Bai Lianhua, Meishio returned home.
You're back.
When Meishio walked through the entrance, she was greeted by a familiar face sweeping the ground.
Mother.
It was Mei Feng. Although the members of Demon Sealing faction spend most of their time inside Cultivation Online these days, Mei Feng continued to clean the mansion daily.
How have you been lately?
Meishio asked.
The same as usual.
Mei Feng calmly replied as she continued sweeping the floor.
You've entered Spirit Lord. Congratulations.
Meishio said after noticing Mei Feng's cultivation had reached the second level of Spirit Lord.
It's nothing compared to your Spirit's sovereign cultivation. Your cultivation would be a lot higher if you didn't spend hours cleaning the house every day.
Meishio shook her head.
Honestly, it's a waste of time.
Mei Feng halted her movements and replied.
I've been doing this long before you were even born. Even if the entire world changes, it doesn't mean I have to change. I enjoy doing this, so I will continue doing it, even if it's not necessary. Also, I have nothing else to do nowadays. Although the Demon Sealing faction used to be at the center of attention and constantly flooded with requests and emails, we're pretty much forgotten nowadays since we haven't made any appearances since Yuan left. Why don't you explore Cultivation Online more? You can even meet Yuan there.
Meishio suggested.
I tried. It was fun at first, but after several years, I got bored. But you don't find housework boring? I can't understand you.
Meishio sighed.
Why are you so worried about what I do? It's not like I'm going to die. The world is constantly evolving. If you cannot keep up with it, you'll eventually be consumed by it.
Mei Feng smiled and said.
Fortunately, I have a capable daughter and son-in-law to protect me when that happens.
Meishio opened her mouth, but no words came out, as she was left speechless by her mother's words.
What? You're not going to protect me?
Mei Feng asked, raising her eyebrows.
I never said that.
Meishio replied.
I just didn't expect to hear those words from you, since you've always taught me that we can only rely on ourselves and nobody else. That was our life working for the Yu family, after all. However, things are different now.
Meishio fell silent for a moment before asking.
Have you learned anything about the Yu family? You mentioned you'd been trying to find them, and that was over 10 years ago.
After a brief look of hesitation on her face, Mei Feng responded.
Yes, I have. In fact, I found them. Really?
Meishio's eyes widened at this news.
Where are they? And what have they been doing since they disappeared? What are you going to do with that information?
Mei Feng asked.
What am I?
Meishio raised her eyebrows.
You're making it sound like I'm going to do something to them once I learn their whereabouts. I'm just curious. I'll tell you after I finish cleaning, or are you too busy to wait? No, I can wait. I won't be doing anything for a while since I just finished my training in Cultivation Online.
Mei Feng nodded and returned to her cleaning. Sometime later, Meishio went to look for Mei Feng in her room.
Come inside.
Meishio opened the door and stepped inside Mei Feng's room. Once they were seated, Mei Feng began.
When their reputation was shattered, the Yu family went into hiding, and I wasn't able to get any information on them. However, a few years ago, they returned. Returned?
Meishio asked with raised eyebrows.
As in they stopped hiding? It's most likely because Yuan had completely disappeared from both Earth and Cultivation Online for the last few decades, and they probably believe he's dead or something.
Since Yuan was no longer a player, his achievements were no longer announced by the system, and because this wasn't the first time he had disappeared for long stretches, no one thought much of it at first. But as years passed without a single announcement bearing his name, and with nobody having seen him on Earth, people gradually began to speculate that he had died. People have tried searching for Yuan in Cultivation Online, but since the players were only able to ascend up to the 5th heaven these days, they were nowhere near close to reaching him.
So where are they right now? And what are they doing now that they have returned?
Meishio asked.
They're currently running a business for the Xiong family. The Xiong family? Aren't they the #1 family in the legacy ranking? Do they know the Yu family's background?
Mei Feng nodded.
Yes. In fact, they agreed to work with the Yu family because they are aware of their connection with Yuan. As for the Yu family's business, they run a talent recruitment business. Is that so?
Meishio muttered.
Are you going to tell Ro?
Mei Feng suddenly asked.
What's the point? I doubt she even cares about them at this point. If you say so.
After learning about the Yu family's current situation, Meishio and Mei Feng continued chatting about other things, such as their future plans.
You may not look like it, but you're already twice the age I was when I gave birth to you. When can I expect a grandchild?
Mei Feng asked.
You're asking me that when Yuan isn't even on Earth anymore? Are you asking me to find a new partner? Of course not. Yuan may not be here right now, but it's not like he'll never return.
Meishio fell silent for a moment before speaking.
Uro plans on leaving Earth to follow you on in the 9 heavens in the future. I also plan to do the same. What about you? It's not like I have any special attachments to this place. If both my daughter and son-in-law are at another place, I will naturally go there with you.
She said.
The question is whether I'll still be alive by the time that happens. You can live for hundreds of years as a spirit lord, but if you're worried and you don't want to die before seeing your grandchild, then you should put more effort into your cultivation,
said Meishio.
If you put it like that, I guess I have no choice but to work harder on my cultivation,
Mei Feng said with a bittersweet smile. 2,146 arrangements. A few days after the demon sealing faction's return, Wang Ming and everyone who came from the Jaded Garden decided to leave the mountain to visit their family.
We'll return in a few months. Have fun,
Mei Feng said to them.
I'm also going to visit my grandfather for a few weeks.
Wang Xiaoying also left the Dragon Spiral Mountain 2 days later, leaving only Chu Liuxiang, Meishio, and Mei Feng at the house. Although everyone communicated with their families often through phone calls and video chats, this was their first time going back home in person in many years. With nothing else to do, Meishio and Chu Liuxiang spent most of their time with Yu Rou and the members of Eternal Lotuses. Besides Eternal Lotuses, they also visited the Lord, who spends most of his time trying to regain his cultivation. At the Jaded Garden, the 6 spiritual families held a grand feast to celebrate their genius's return, a celebration that lasted an entire week.
Do any of you regret leaving home to follow you on?
One of the elders asked during the banquet.
Of course not.
Wang Ming replied firmly.
To have met someone like him is the greatest fortune of my life, and to follow him is an even greater blessing, right? Without him, we could have never reached where we are now, not even a lifetime.
Shi Lang added, and everyone nodded in agreement.
How's Yuan doing these days? I haven't heard a peep from him for many years now. Some even think he's dead. Nothing's happened to him, right?
Another asked. Wu Zhao chuckled and said.
You don't know Yuan like we do. That man is a freak. There's nothing in this world that could threaten him, so you don't have to worry. He's definitely fine. Hey, is Yuan looking for any partners right now? I'd like to introduce my daughter to him. You should give up. He's way out of our league.
Shi Murong said.
But didn't Jinxi manage to capture his heart?
Wang Ming remarked.
What?
Everyone not part of the demon sealing faction snapped their heads to look at Li Jinxi after hearing Wang Ming's comment, as this was their first time hearing about her relationship with Yuan.
When? When did this happen?
Li Jinxi's father shouted as he stood up with a face full of shock. However, Li Jinxi didn't say anything and remained silent.
It happened right before Yuan left, I think.
Shi Lang said.
That long ago, and none of you even bothered to tell us. Well, we were busy. What about you, Bing Bing? How far have you progressed with him?
The Wang family asked.
We're just friends.
Wang Bingbing hastily said with a flushed face.
You really need to step up your game.
Her mother sighed.
Shut up.
Sometime later, Li Jinxi spoke up.
There's something I need to tell you all.
The chattering stopped, and everyone turned their focus to her.
As you know, Yuan left Earth and went to the 9 heavens. I wasn't able to follow him at that time, but in the future, when there is another opportunity, I will also leave Earth.
She said.
There's still plenty of time before that happens, but I wanted to let you know ahead of time so you wouldn't be puzzled if I were to vanish one day suddenly.
Hearing Li Jinxi's words, Wang Ming then said.
I also plan on leaving Earth in the future. After experiencing the 9 heavens, I am no longer content with this small world.
The others began voicing the same thing afterward, that they planned on leaving Earth in the future. However, despite the sudden announcement, no one there seemed surprised by it. After a moment of silence, one of them spoke out loud.
We already anticipated this would happen when Yuan left Earth back then. In fact, we were surprised that none of you actually followed him to the 9 heavens. Well, it's not that we didn't want to. We just couldn't,
said Hong Xiuquan.
Will you be unable to return to Earth once you leave?
Someone asked.
We should have no issues coming back. Granted, nobody messes with the gate like last time. In that case, I see no problem with you leaving. It is a fact that this world has become too small for you all. So, you have no clue when you'll leave? No.
Their families continued asking questions until they were satisfied. In the end, none of their family had any issue with them leaving Earth. In fact, they even encouraged it. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, an entire year had passed. The Demon Sealing faction returned to the Dragon Spiral Mountain and logged back into Cultivation Online for the first time. Shortly after their return, Kellen summoned them.
The arrangements have been made,
he said.
But nothing is final yet. In a few days, your potential masters will arrive to interview you. If they find you suitable and agree to accept you, the decision will then be yours. After all, We won't force you to join a place you do not approve of. Li Jinxi. Go speak with Senior Bai at the Myriad of Techniques tomorrow. He wants to have a conversation with you.
Li Jinxi silently nodded.
Any questions? Can you tell us more, so we know what to expect?
Shi Lang asked. Kellen nodded and proceeded to explain the places they might be going in detail to them. Once satisfied, they were dismissed. The following day, Li Jinxi visited the Myriad of Techniques.
Senior Bai.
Li Jinxi respectfully greeted him after entering his world.
Li Jinxi, correct? This will be our first one-on-one conversation. Please sit down.
Senior Bai gestured to the table, where 2 teacups were prepared in advance. Senior Bai continued as he poured her a cup of tea.
You're probably wondering why I called you, so I will get straight to the point. According to Kellen, not only are you the most talented in your group, but you're also the hardest working. Yet, you intend to train on your own while your friends all agree to train at other sections. May I ask for your reasoning?
2147 Heavens Sect. Hearing Senior Bai's question, Li Jinxi responded calmly, without a trace of hesitation.
It's quite simple. I just don't believe there's anything these sects can teach me.
After all, she was a reincarnator who carried the memories of her past life. Unlike the others, she was already far ahead in terms of experience. Cultivation sects were typically stepping stones for the inexperienced or havens for those wishing to settle in one place. But Li Jinxi was neither, and she would gain far more by wandering the world on her own. In fact, most cultivators who graduate from their sects more often than not set out on their own adventures, hoping to encounter good fortune along the way. However, Li Jinxi couldn't reveal such information to Senior Bai even though she trusted him.
So, you deem the sects unworthy of your time?
Senior Bai murmured, closing his eyes in contemplation. Ordinarily, such words would come only from cultivators blinded by arrogance. Yet in Li Jinxi's voice, he detected no such conceit. Even though this was his first true conversation with her, he could already discern that she was different from the rest. There was something oddly familiar about Li Jinxi, a feeling he would sometimes get when speaking with Yuan, but he couldn't pinpoint it. Li Jinxi spoke a moment later.
It's not that I'm looking down on these sections. I have more experience than it appears, and I've already graduated from several sections. No, I understand where you're coming from. However, you cannot compare the sects in the lower heavens to the sects here,
said Senior Bai, misunderstanding her. He knew Li Jinxi was a player who started her journey in the lower heavens, so in his eyes, all of her experience came from the lower heavens, which is incomparable to the upper heavens. Realizing Senior Bai's misunderstanding, she said,
I think it would be easier to explain with my abilities. I see, that is a good idea. It'd definitely be quicker if you showed me your current abilities. That way, I can better gauge whether you would benefit from being in a sect or not.
Senior Bai nodded. He turned around and flew to an open area before beckoning her.
Come at me. No need to hold back.
Li Jinxi nodded and retrieved her treasure, the Golden Empress.
A fine sword.
Senior Bai remarked with a smile on his face.
Here I come.
In the next moment, Li Jinxi unleashed her full cultivation without hesitation, striking at Senior Bai with the clear intent to defeat him. In their very first exchange, Senior Bai was forced back. His eyes widened as he said,
My apologies. I underestimated you.
Li Jinxi gave a silent nod, allowing Senior Bai a moment to ready himself before launching her second strike, one even stronger than the first. She had known he would underestimate her, which was why she hadn't gone all out at the start. However, Senior Bai was prepared this time and managed to block her strike. Yet, he was still astonished by her overwhelming prowess. She's only a bronze immortal, but she exudes the power of a golden immortal. Kellen was right, her talent is overwhelming. It's like I am fighting Yuan, he cried inwardly. Li Jinxi's overwhelming prowess and talent reminded Senior Bai of his first exchange with Yuan. Senior Bai quickly understood why Li Jinxi had no confidence in sects and would rather train herself. After a while, Senior Bai said,
That's enough. Let's stop here.
Li Jinxi halted right away. Even after giving it her all, she hadn't managed to land a clean strike, which frustrated her.
You're undeniably talented. Far more than Kellen gave you credit for.
Senior Bai remarked.
Your movement and technique are good enough to become an instructor in an elite sect, and you clearly have a lot of combat experience. However, you also still have a lot of room for improvement, and I firmly believe that you would benefit a lot from joining a sect. While there are only a handful of sects that would qualify to train someone of your caliber, and all of them only accept the best of the best, you should have no issue being accepted by them.
Li Jinxi remained silent for a good moment before speaking.
If you were to recommend me a sect, which one would it be?
Senior Bai closed his eyes to ponder.
Either the Divine Essence Monastery or Heavens Sect. The Divine Essence Monastery is a top sect in the ninth heaven that only accepts female disciples, and Heavens Sect is operated by the Tian family, which is the second strongest family in the nine heavens. Do you remember Tian Yueshing from Sword Emperor's qualification? The so-called number one genius who challenged Yuan and got utterly defeated? I remember. He's from that sect. Not just him. Many experts who currently stand at the peak of the cultivation world came from Heaven's Sect. In fact, I also used to be a disciple there,
said Senior Bai. He continued.
With your talents, you won't have any problems getting in. If you want, you could decide after taking a look at them first. I will need some time to consider.
Li Jinsi responded a moment later.
Take all the time you need. Once you decide, let Kellen know so he can contact me. All right.
Li Jinsi left shortly after. Once she left, Senior Bai sat down and sighed.
What a terrifying young lad. The newer generation is truly full of monsters. I'm afraid that it won't be long before the older generation becomes irrelevant.
After leaving myriad of techniques, Li Jinsi returned to her room, where she lay on the bed and quietly stared at the ceiling.
Heaven's Sect, that's where I died in my past life,
she muttered. Though she had yet to recover all her memories, or the details of her death, she remembered her final moments taking place within Heaven's Sect. And for the next several days, Li Jinsi remained inside her room to ponder her choices. 2148 Klaying. On the fourth day of the Demon Sealing faction's return to Cultivation Online, Kellen summoned Wang Ming when his recruiter arrived at the sect.
This junior greets senior.
Wang Ming bowed to the handsome middle-aged man standing beside Kellen. The man nodded and introduced himself.
My name is Luan, and I am the sect master of the Origin Sword Sect. We're a top 5 sword sect within the 9 heavens, and number 2 in the 8th heaven.
The man proceeded to give a brief history lesson on the Origin Sword Sect to Wang Ming, as well as some of their biggest achievements. At the end, Kellen spoke.
After watching over you for the last few decades, I believe your sword style is compatible with the Origin Sword Sect. However, don't just take my word for it.
Luan then spoke.
I'm going to give you a quick test to determine whether you're qualified for the Origin Sword Sect, as well as show you what my sword style is capable of.
Wang Ming nodded and followed them to Kellen's private training ground. Inside, Wang Ming and Luan faced each other with a sword.
Come at me with the intention to kill,
said Luan before the fight began. During the fight, Wang Ming used every card in his hand to try to defeat Luan. However, the results were quite obvious, and Wang Ming was unable to touch Luan even after 6 hours of continuous fighting.
Let's stop here,
Luan said after placing his sword against Wang Ming's neck. After the fight, Wang Ming felt a little dispirited. He had anticipated a difficult battle, but he never imagined the gap would be so vast, that he wouldn't even be able to land a single hit on Luan. Noticing Wang Ming's face, Luan spoke.
I heard from sect leader Kellen that you're not even 100 years old. Is that true?
Wang Ming silently nodded.
Then you have immense potential and plenty of room to grow. In fact, I can see you quickly becoming a top disciple in my sect if you work hard enough.
Is that so? Luan then asked.
So what do you think of my sword style? Do you feel any desire to learn it? Do.
Wang Ming quickly responded. Luan smiled and said.
Why don't you come to my sect and take a look around before you make a final decision? I will do that then.
Luan turned to look at Kellen and smiled.
Thank you for giving our sect the opportunity to recruit such a young talent. We owe you a great debt.
Kellen shook his head.
You don't owe me anything. I am just doing what's best for the kid. When can you leave?
Luan asked Wang Ming.
Immediately.
He quickly responded.
You don't need to say goodbye to your friends?
Kellen asked. Wang Ming smiled and said.
I already said my goodbyes to them.
The next moment, Luan retrieved a flying treasure and boarded it with Wang Ming before disappearing from the sect. A few hours after Wang Ming left the sect, another expert arrived at the sect, and Shi Lang was summoned.
I am Zhongman, also known as the Demon Spear. I am the sect leader of the Heaven-Piercing Spear Sect, and we are the number 1 spear sect in the entire 9 heavens. Though you were recommended by sect leader Kellen and sect leader Bai, I still need to evaluate you to see if you qualify to join.
Shi Lang nodded.
Exactly how I want it. The evaluation will take place at our sect, so you can take a look around while you're at it. When can you leave? I can leave right now. Very well.
Wasting no time, Zhongman left with Shi Lang a minute later. Over the next few days, more and more experts arrived, each coming to take members of the Demon Sealing faction away.
I am an elder at the Celestial Cauldron Sect. We're the number 1 sect for alchemists in the 9 heavens, and most of the top pill masters in this world have studied under us. If that's not enough, our sect leader is the current god of alchemy. If your talent permits it, you could even become her disciple. God of alchemy.
Wang Xiuying swallowed nervously at this title.
If you wish to join us, you will need to pass several exams. However, I have to be honest. Considering your lack of experience, I don't think you have what it takes to pass the exams,
said the elder. Unlike cultivation sects, which place talent above all else, alchemy sects require both innate talent and accumulated experience. As Wang Xiuying had yet to live a full century, her experience was still lacking. Even with the celestial overlord's influence, Kellen was only able to give Wang Xiuying the opportunity to take the exam. If she wanted to enter the sect, she needed to do so with her own abilities.
Even if there's a 99.99 chance that I'd fail, I would still like to take the exam,
Wang Xiuying said with a determined expression. Sometime later, Wang Xiuying left with the elder, leaving just Meishio, Chu Liuxiang, and Li Jinsi at the sect. 2 days later, Kellen called for Meishio. When she arrived, Meishio could see a tall and muscular woman who rivaled Kellen's physique standing next to him.
Hello.
Meishio had to tilt her head to look at the woman's face. Despite her rough appearance, the woman smiled and said,
Hello, little one. I am Keilein. Keilein.
Meishio turned to look at Kellen, who smiled back.
This is Keilein, my elder sister. I didn't know you had siblings,
Meishio remarked. Kellen sighed aloud.
I usually avoid anything related to my family. We don't exactly have the best relationship. That's an understatement.
Keilein cut in.
You despise us. So imagine my surprise when you suddenly reached out to me.
2149 Keilein, 2.
That's not right.
Kellen shook his head and elaborated.
I despise our parents. I harbor no hard feelings toward any of my siblings. After all, it was our parents' decision to feed me giant's blood. Even though you gained immense strength from it, all of our siblings envy you, you know?
Keilein said.
That strength didn't come for free.
Kellen replied, his fists clenched tightly.
I endured decades of indescribable pain just to absorb it. Even now, my body still aches at times, as if remembering what I went through back then.
Keilein fell silent. Although she had also consumed a giant's blood, it wasn't anywhere close to the amount Kellen had to consume, not to mention that he'd consumed high-tier giant blood, so she couldn't even pretend to understand the torment Kellen had to endure.
Anyway, let's get back on topic,
Kellen said a moment later. Keilein nodded and continued.
Let me start over. I'm Keilein, Kellen's elder sister. I specialize in archery, and I'm known as the star-piercing huntress. I came because Kellen begged me to guide you. But to be honest, I've never taken on a disciple before, and my experience as a teacher is minimal. I may not be the most suitable person to teach you. Hell, I don't even know why Kellen came to me for help.
Kellen then said.
You're the best archer I know, and I only want the best for her.
Keilein raised her brows and asked suspiciously.
Is she your girl, or something? You don't even treat your own disciples this well.
Flustered, Kellen quickly replied.
She's not. She already has someone. And her partner is a person I owe a great deal to. Is that so? Well, that won't change the fact that I might not be a suitable teacher, even if I'm the best archer in the 9 heavens.
She said.
I don't mind.
Meishio suddenly said.
If it doesn't work out, I can always find a different teacher. Are you sure? My training methods might not be suitable for a fragile-looking lady like you. Honestly, it's quite barbaric. You shouldn't judge her by her appearance,
Kellen said.
Despite how she looks, she's very hard-working and surprisingly tough. After all, she endured all of my training without uttering a single complaint. The only other person in their group who didn't complain the slightest was Li Jinsi, and she's in a league of her own.
Because of Meifeng's upbringing, Meishio's mental fortitude far surpassed that of the others, and that was without even considering the experience from her past life. Keilein stared at Meishio in silence for a good moment before sighing.
All right, I'll train you. I've been thinking about starting my own sect recently, so this will be a good experience. Then it's settled,
said Kellen.
I'll come back for you in a month, so use this time to prepare yourself.
Keilein said, as she also needed some time to prepare. Meishio nodded. The following day, Chu Liuxiang was summoned by Kellen.
HM, where's my teacher?
Chu Liuxiang asked when she saw Kellen by himself.
He's running a little late, but he'll be here soon. Okay.
A few minutes later, a familiar figure appeared before them.
Senior Bai, don't tell me you're going to be my teacher.
Chu Liuxiang asked with a surprised face. Senior Bai smiled and said.
Not quite. You specialize in spiritual techniques, specifically the Yin element, and you've also been studying array symbols, correct?
Chu Liuxiang nodded and elaborated.
I'm studying array symbols, but it's more of a side project, something I do when I want a breath of fresh air. My focus is still cultivation. I understand,
said Senior Bai.
Originally, Kellen intended to send you to a sect specializing in the Een element, such as the Frozen Cloud Ethereal Sect. But I have a different proposal. Why not join my Gates of Heaven instead? We specialize in traditional cultivation methods and spiritual techniques, and we also have many experts in the Een element. And should you wish to pursue array symbols, I can personally guide you, as I am a level 7 array master. Really? That's great, because I'd rather train in a place with familiar people.
Chu Liuxiang said. Senior Bai nodded and said,
I have another proposal. As you know, there is a Gates of Heaven in the 5th heaven, 7th heaven, and another in the 9th heaven. If you want the best resources and most experienced lecturers, you should join the Gates of Heaven in the 9th heaven.
Chu Liuxiang's eyes widened at his proposal, and she said,
I'm already humbled that you would let me join the Gates of Heaven, but to bring me to the 9th heaven. Are you sure? I'm afraid that I am not talented enough.
Senior Bai spoke in a serious tone.
I'll be honest with you. If not for our connection, you wouldn't have qualified to enter the Gates of Heaven in the 7th heaven, let alone the 9th. But talent alone doesn't determine everything in the cultivation world. Luck and connections matter just as much. That said, if you choose to join the sect in the 9th heaven, you will likely face ridicule from those around you. I can shield you to a certain degree, but I cannot afford to show excessive favoritism. Take some time to think it over.
It wasn't only Chu Liuxiang. The other demon sealing faction members would also face ridicule for their young age, especially if people discovered they had joined through connections. Yet, despite such a possibility, Chu Liuxiang did not hesitate to reply.
I don't need to think about it. It's true that I don't qualify to step foot in such a place, let alone train with others who joined through their own efforts. I won't give up such an opportunity just because someone might ridicule me.
Senior Bai smiled and said,
Don't make it sound like you didn't put any effort into it. I only made this proposal because of how hard you train with Kellen, and I believe you will thrive despite the difference.
2150 returning to the Holy Dragon clan.
Since it's decided, I will take you to the 9th heaven so you can train in the Gates of Heaven. However, it'll take some time to get approval, so you can continue staying here until then.
Senior Bai said. Chu Liuxiang nodded.
Take your time. It shouldn't take too long, 3 months at most. I understand.
Senior Bai left shortly after.
Don't worry too much about it.
Kellen said afterward.
There may be a few bad apples, but most disciples of the Gates of Heaven have good character, a reflection of their leader, Senior Bai. However, if things do get out of hand, don't hesitate to ask Senior Bai for help. I'm not worried at all.
Chu Liuxiang said with a confident smile. Sometime later, Chu Liuxiang went to speak with Meishio and Li Jinsi about her arrangements.
So, I'll be studying in the 9th heaven at the Gates of Heaven.
She announced.
Senior Bai's sect, huh? I'll be training with Kellen's elder sister.
Meishio said.
Huh? Kellen has a sister.
Chu Liuxiang's eyes widened with surprise at this news. Meishio nodded.
He has several other siblings, too. What about you, Sister Jinsi? Where will you be going?
The two looked at her.
I haven't decided yet. I was on a train alone in the wilderness, but Senior Bai gave me other options. I can train at the Divine Essence Monastery, or Heavens Sect. Both of them exist within the 9th heaven. I think you would still benefit from training at a sect, even with your experience.
Said Meishio.
I think so, too.
Chu Liuxiang agreed. Meanwhile, Shimeli and Leah just arrived at the Dragon Spiral Mountain.
Halt! Identify yourself.
A guard stopped them once they got close enough.
Hello, my name is Shimeli. I remember you. You're Dragon Goddess Yayo's envoy's friend.
The guard interrupted.
Yes. I came here with Yuan some time ago. Why did you return? Did something happen? No. This may sound weird, but I was wondering if I could train here with my friend. Training, huh? Let me speak with my superior. Follow me.
Shimeli and Leah followed the guard to the Dragon Spiral Mountain. Upon returning to the Dragon Spiral Mountain, Shimeli and Leah were brought to a guest house before the guard left to contact the elders.
Shimeli? That young dragon from last time has returned, and she wants to train here.
The elders raised an eyebrow at this news.
Should I send them away?
The guard asked after seeing the elders' reaction.
What? Are you insane? They're the immortal Dragon Goddess envoy's companion. They could train here for as long as they'd like.
The elder said. Besides the elders and highest-ranking members, the rest of the Holy Dragon clan were unaware of Yuan's true identity as the immortal monarch.
I understand.
Thus, Shimeli and Leah began living at Dragon Spiral Mountain with the Holy Dragon clan. The children were overjoyed to see Shimeli again, while the adults grew curious about Leah's identity. Although she was also a dragon, Leah had grown up on Earth, and her scent and aura carried a difference that stirred their curiosity. A month later, Kailang returned to take Meishio away.
Good luck, Meishio.
Chu Liuxiang and Li Jinsi said in farewell.
See you later.
Another month passed, and Senior Bai personally escorted Chu Liuxiang to the ninth heaven, where she would begin her training at the gates of heaven. Now, it was just Li Jinsi who remained at Kellen's sect. Kellen didn't rush her and patiently waited for her to decide. A few days later, Li Jinsi made up her mind.
I will go train at Heavens Sect,
she said to Kellen.
Really? That's wonderful.
Kellen's face lit up with joy. This meant she would finally receive proper training and be able to unleash her true potential.
However, I want to ascend to the ninth heaven with my own powers,
she quickly added.
If that's what you want.
Kellen didn't object to her request. A few days later, Li Jinsi departed from the sect to begin her journey to the ninth heaven. Without delay, she headed straight for the stairway to heaven to test whether she could ascend to the eighth heaven at her current level. After spending nearly 20 years in the seventh region of White Hell, Yuan finally emerged from his cultivation. However, he had yet to achieve the next realm of cold harmony.
How long have I been in cultivation?
Yuan asked.
Almost 20 years.
Yu Ning responded.
That's quite long. Although I am close to reaching the next level of cold harmony, I don't think I will be able to achieve it in a reasonable amount of time in this environment. I must head to the 8th region, if not the 9th region.
Before leaving the cave, Yuan sent a message through his communication jade slip to Meishio, Chu Liuxiang, and Li Jinsi about his situation. Normally, they would have quickly responded, but they were currently busy with training and hadn't noticed that Yuan had contacted them. Without waiting for their response, Yuan left the cave and began making his way toward the 8th region. However, shortly after leaving the cave, he sensed a faint presence nearby, so weak that it was clear its owner was on the brink of death. Unable to ignore it, Yuan made a detour and followed the presence. As he got closer, he sensed several more presences, and they all appeared to be chasing after the weakened presence. Realizing the situation, Yuan quickened his pace and soared through the harsh environment with his body cloaked in true primordial fire. Sometime later, he caught up to the source of the weakened presence and saw a familiar-looking woman struggling through the 7th region. The sunstone she clutched was strained to its limits, unable to protect her fully.
Are you unharmed?
Yuan asked, calling out gently without drawing too near. Yet, his words startled her deeply, and without so much as a glance at him, the woman unleashed a fierce martial technique against him. 2151 White Hell Frost Lotus.
Whoa!
Yuan wasn't expecting to be attacked so suddenly, but he still managed to dodge her attack.
Calm down. I am not your enemy.
Hearing his familiar voice, the woman halted her movements and turned to look at his face.
You're the one from the cave?
The woman muttered in a weak voice.
HM? No wonder I find your face familiar. So you were that woman who came into my cave during my cultivation in the 6th region.
Yuan said after seeing her face clearly.
You look like you're on the verge of death. Need some help. It doesn't concern you. If you don't want to die, leave me alone,
she said before turning around and flying away. Yuan didn't chase after her. However, he didn't leave either, almost as if he was waiting for something or someone. Sometime later, Yuan could sense several silhouettes appearing in the distance and prepared to confront them. Within moments, these silhouettes arrived before Yuan. When they stopped, they immediately surrounded and questioned him.
Who are you? And where's the woman? Woman? What are you talking about?
Yuan asked, pretending to be ignorant of the situation.
Don't play dumb. We know you met and spoke with that woman,
said one of them. Just as Yuan had sensed their presence from afar, those cultivators also detected his, and naturally, they could tell he was with the woman. Though they had only been together briefly, it still marked them as connected in some way.
If you're talking about the injured woman I encountered just now, I don't know her or where she went. Why are you guys chasing after her, anyway?
Yuan said a moment later. There were 4 of them in a group, 3 men and 1 woman, and they were all between the 2nd and 3rd level of God Ascension. In other words, they were all powerhouses. As for the woman, she was only at the 1st level of God Ascension.
If you don't know her, then why do you care about our business with her? Not only was she greatly injured, but she was clearly running away from your group. If you have a good reason for going after her, I won't interfere. I am just a concerned bystander, after all. Interfere? What can you, a mere golden immortal, even do to stop us? We can kill you with a sneeze.
One of the male cultivators sneered in disdain.
What can I do? You don't want to find out.
Yuan responded with a calm smile.
If you're not doing anything wrong, you won't have to either. Enough.
The female cultivator suddenly barked.
Why the hell are we wasting our time on this meddler? That bitch is getting away with our White Hell Frost Lotus. White Hell Frost Lotus.
Yuan raised an eyebrow at the unfamiliar name. Still, he quickly pieced the situation together, it was clear this group was chasing the woman for that treasure.
You're right. Let's just kill him and get this over with. Gu Ruyan, you can take care of this bastard. We'll go on ahead. Leave him to me. It will only take a few moments to erase his existence from this world,"
said the man named Gu Ruyan. Without another word, the other three left the scene to chase after the woman. Yuan didn't stop them and focused on the man surnamed Gu before him.
"Your surname is Gu? Do you happen to be from 7 legacy families?"
Yuan asked, realizing that it had been a long time since he last spoke of their name. Gu Ruyan's eyes widened slightly with surprise.
"You know me? And you still decided to stand in my way?"
Yuan chuckled and said,
"No, I have no clue who you are. In fact, this is my first time hearing your name. That said, I've had several encounters with the Gu family before, so I'm very familiar with your family."
Gu Ruyan narrowed his eyes at Yuan, uncertain whether he was a friend or foe of the Gu family. If Yuan turned out to be an ally, the situation would become far more complicated, and killing him would not be so easy.
"What's your relationship with my Gu family?"
Gu Ruyan asked.
"We're good friends."
Yuan lied, a bright smile on his face.
"Oh really?"
Gu Ruyan was speechless.
"No, I'm joking. You..."
Gu Ruyan's expression immediately darkened, his gaze full of anger and killing intent.
"How dare you mock me? Relax, that was a joke as well. I really am friends with the Gu family, but the one I know is from the lower heavens."
Yuan said calmly.
"The lower heavens? Why would you be familiar with?"
Gu Ruyan suddenly halted his words, and his expression grew grim.
"There was an incident in the lower heavens where many members of the Gu family, including their patriarch, were slaughtered. No, it wasn't just the Gu family. The other legacy families, as well as the Ji family, were also involved. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you?"
After a moment of silence, Yuan responded.
"You just brought back some unpleasant memories, but to answer your question, yes, I happen to know a thing or two about it. After all, I was also there when it happened."
Gu Ruyan's expression darkened further as he asked in a cold voice.
"I never asked for your name, but if I had to guess, it wouldn't happen to be Yuan, would it? Wow, that's amazing. How'd you guess? Are you a fortune teller, by any chance? I'll kill you, you bastard."
Without another word, Gu Ruyan drew his sword and lunged at Yuan, his entire cultivation base surging forth. Yuan drew number 1 under heaven to block the incoming strike. The moment their swords collided, a powerful ripple spread through the area, yet it barely disturbed the raging snowstorm.
"According to the information we received, you're one of those outsiders who entered the 9 heavens with the Celestial Emperor's help. It hasn't even been a century since then. How in the world did you reach the 8th heaven so quickly?"
Gu Ruyan demanded, unable to believe a player could advance to their realm in such a short time. 2152 Gu Ruyan.
"So you know that I'm a player, huh? Is it really that surprising for me to be here?"
Yuan responded with a calm smile as he blocked Gu Ruyan's next strike with ease.
"We have been keeping track of their progress, and most of them are still in the 5th heaven. So how in heaven's name are you in the 8th heaven? In the 7th region of White Hell, no less."
Although those in the upper heavens were forbidden from approaching players until they reached the 7th heaven, many influential clans and powerful sects still kept close watch on their progress. This way, they could not only recruit them once they qualified, but also prepare themselves to deal with them if necessary.
"And how the hell are you still alive? I thought the others had already taken care of you, hence why we stopped looking for you."
Gu Ruyan couldn't believe that Yuan had been alive this entire time. The events in the lower heavens sent shockwaves throughout not only that realm but even the upper heavens, for never before had anyone dared to provoke the Ji family, much less slaughter Lord Ji.
"Why wouldn't I be alive? You guys didn't even attack me. In fact, that ambush you laid at the stairway to heaven had only managed to kill innocent players."
When Yuan first heard about the incident, he couldn't help but laugh and feel sorry for the players at the same time.
"Oomph. Regardless, your luck ends here. I'll finish today what the others failed to accomplish."
Gu Ruyan declared, retrieving a familiar-looking treasure. Yuan narrowed his eyes at the rod in his hand.
"The Rod of Destruction, huh? You must be desperate to kill me if you're bringing that out so soon." "What?"
Gu Ruyan's movement suddenly halted, and he stared at Yuan with wide eyes.
"Why you? How do you know about the Rod of Destruction? This item is extremely scarce, and only available to a few people."
Without any explanation, Yuan retrieved the Rod of Destruction he obtained from Zhenguoquan at the Abyssal Underground and showed it to Gu Ruyan.
"You? Why the fuck do you have that? How did you obtain it?" "I picked it up." "Bullshit. So, what are you going to do now? Want to use it at the same time, and see who comes out alive?"
Yuan said with a calm smile on his face. Hearing Yuan's words, Gu Ruyan sneered.
"You probably don't know this, but there are 3 tiers of rarity for the Rod of Destruction, and the higher the tier, the more powerful it is. While your Rod of Destruction is only tier 3, mine is tier 2. I'll completely obliterate you. In that case, why don't you show me just how powerful your Tier 2 Rod of Destruction really is? If not, I'll use mine.
Yuan said, spreading his arms in a provoking gesture. Without hesitation, Gu Rian began pouring his spiritual energy into the Rod of Destruction. Although using such a powerful treasure may seem excessive at face value, Gu Rian considered Yuan to be threatening enough to use it. Although Yuan was only a golden immortal while he himself was a god ascension cultivator, Gu Rian realized from their brief exchanges that Yuan actually surpassed him in sheer prowess. Moreover, with Yuan's status as a player blessed by the Celestial Emperor, Gu Rian knew he could not afford to treat him lightly. This bastard was strong enough to kill Lord Ji and the others in the lower heavens. He cannot be underestimated. Gu Rian thought to himself as he pointed the Rod of Destruction at Yuan.
Pulverize this bastard.
The Rod of Destruction released a surge of black aura, and from its tip burst a crimson beam that struck toward Yuan in an instant. At the same time, Gu Rian used a treasure that instantly teleported him tens of thousands of miles away from his original location. The instant the crimson beam touched Yuan, it erupted, creating a massive mushroom cloud that swept away the raging snowstorm of the 7th region and obliterated every mountain within a 5,000-mile radius. The destruction was so powerful that even a god ascension cultivator would instantly perish beneath its prowess.
What the fuck?
The other three from Gu Rian's group were shocked when they saw the commotion behind them.
Did that bastard really use the Rod of Destruction to take care of a mere golden immortal? What is that idiot doing? The two of you go ahead. I'll go back and see the situation.
One of the men said. The other two nodded their head and continued their pursuit. Meanwhile, the one who stayed behind began traveling back to Gu Rian.
Holy shit.
Gu Rian muttered, his eyes wide and his mouth agape as he stared at the devastation. It was his first time witnessing the Rod of Destruction in action, and its power far exceeded anything he had imagined.
No wonder the others were going crazy for this thing. The range might not be that wide, but the raw power is insane. Anyone caught in the blast would be wiped out without a trace.
Sure enough, the power was so overwhelming that not even Yuan's physique could withstand it. His body was completely obliterated, but his soul endured, suffering only minor injuries that quickly healed on their own.
Alright, that was a little scary.
Yuan muttered as his body rapidly regenerated from nothing but his soul. When his form reconstituted, he found himself far from the blast site, having been hurled away by its sheer force.
By the heavens, never have I witnessed a treasure so fearsome.
Yu Ning murmured, her voice dazed. Feng Yuxiang nodded her head in agreement.
Though the world holds many powerful treasures, few, if any, can rival its sheer destructive might. And this isn't even the strongest Rod of Destruction. If this is only the second strongest, how terrifying must the first tier one be?
Yuan sighed. 2153 Gu Rian, 2.
What are you going to do next, young master?
Yu Ning asked Yuan shortly later. Yuan initially planned to return to Gu Rian, but he changed his mind when he sensed that one of Gu Rian's friends had returned.
He definitely thinks I died to the Rod of Destruction, so I'll deal with Gu Rian later. Right now, I should save that woman before his friends catch up to her and kill her.
Yuan had activated Shadow Veil the moment he restored his body, so Gu Rian was unaware that he had survived the attack. Thus, Yuan chased after the other two while Gu Rian reunited with his friend who had just returned.
Gu Rian, what the fuck do you think you were doing, using the Rod of Destruction in this place? Don't tell me you used it just to take care of that golden immortal.
The friend immediately began lecturing Gu Rian the moment they reunited.
I had no choice. He also had a Rod of Destruction with him. If I hadn't used it, he would have used it on me.
Gu Rian exclaimed his reasoning.
What? That golden immortal had a Rod of Destruction, too? Unless he's part of the faction, that's impossible. And if he really had one, why did you kill him? What if he was an ally? No, he wasn't an ally. He got the Rod of Destruction from someone else. I heard that Zheng Wuquan had recently perished at the Abyssal Underground. It's likely that he took it from her. Didn't Zheng Wuquan die from a natural phenomenon there? That's what we were told, but nobody truly knows since no one actually witnessed her death. If not for that, I can't imagine how that bastard got his hands on a Rod of Destruction. Another reason I know he's no ally is because that man was Yuan, the one who slaughtered Lord Ji and many of the 7 legacy families' leaders back in Spirit Heaven.
Gu Rian revealed.
Wait a second. He was that Yuan. I thought he died in the ambush at the stairway to heaven.
His friend exclaimed with disbelief.
He said that the ambush had only killed innocent people. I don't know how he managed to slip away back then, but he's definitely dead now. There's no chance he could have survived the Rod of Destruction.
He was certain the Rod of Destruction had struck Yuan because once its laser locked onto a target, it would cling to them. Even if Yuan had tried to escape with a movement technique or a treasure, it would still have followed him.
Regardless, Let's get out of here before someone comes and questions us. We cannot let the world know of the Rod of Destruction's existence right now. It's still too early.
Gu Ruyan nodded, and the two quickly departed to resume their pursuit. However, they chose not to rejoin their companions right away, wary that someone might have witnessed everything. Meanwhile, the male and female cultivators who had never abandoned the chase finally caught up to the woman they had been pursuing all along.
We finally caught you, you little rat who stole our white hell, Frost Lotus. That's funny, because I don't recall ever stealing it from you. In fact, I was the one who harvested the white hell Frost Lotus. You bastards were the ones trying to steal it from me.
The injured woman snapped.
That's nonsense. We had been camping the white hell, Frost Lotus long before you ever showed up. You just got lucky and harvested it while we were distracted.
One of them retorted.
Huh, empty words. Anyone can claim that without proof. I watched over the white hell Frost Lotus for an entire year, and not once did I see any of you there.
She shot back. The female purser shook her head and said,
Why bother arguing with someone who will soon be a corpse? If you obediently hand over the white hell, Frost Lotus, we'll let you die a peaceful death. Otherwise, we'll make it as painful and shameful as possible.
The injured woman gritted her teeth in frustration, her eyes clouded with despair as the realization struck that there was no one to help her, and she was truly going to die here. Tears welled in the woman's eyes, but the extreme cold of white hell froze them the instant they appeared.
This is why you should have accepted my help when I offered it.
A familiar voice suddenly echoed through the air.
Who's there?
The two pursuers tensed in alarm, but no matter how they searched, they couldn't sense a single presence nearby, as if they were hearing the voice of a ghost. The next moment, a figure appeared before the injured woman like a ghost.
Why you? You're that golden immortal from before. Why the hell are you here? What happened to Gu Ruyan and Lin Caney?
The two instantly recognized Yuan's handsome face and exclaimed in a startled voice.
Don't tell me you killed them,
said the male pursuer.
That's impossible. There's no way a golden immortal like him could kill two God Ascension cultivators.
The woman expressed her doubt. However, Yuan completely ignored them and focused his attention on the injured woman before him.
My offer still stands. Do you need my help?
Yuan asked her.
Why would you risk your life to help me?
She asked skeptically.
We don't even know each other.
Yuan smiled warmly.
So what if we don't? Since when do we need to know someone in order to help them? I saw someone in need, so I offer my hand. That said, you look like someone I know.
The injured woman was left speechless. Benevolent cultivators like Yuan were rare in the cultivation world, especially at their level. After all, the best way to survive was to mind one's own business, and meddling in matters that didn't concern them was the quickest way to court death.
What is your name?
She suddenly asked.
My name is Yuan. Yuan.
The other two frowned, their brows lifting at the familiar name, though they didn't immediately recognize it.
Please, help me, Yuan.
The injured woman pleaded. Yuan gave a silent nod in acknowledgement, his gaze steady. 2154 familiar-looking sword.
Huh.
The other woman suddenly sneered out loud.
I don't know how you managed to escape Gu Ruyan and Lin Caney, but you're in no position to help others.
Yuan turned to face the woman and asked.
And who are you? Are you also surnamed Gu? Or do you belong to one of the other legacy families? You know who we are?
The woman expressed surprise at Yuan's words.
Not really, but now I know you're with the 7 legacy families. You know our background, yet you still want to defy us? You're dumber than I thought,
said the man beside her. Yuan shifted his gaze toward him and sneered.
Let's not pretend the 7 legacy families are some grand power in the upper heavens. You may have been all-powerful in the lower realms, but up here, your influence is nothing special. How dare you? Our families may not appear as imposing in the upper heavens, but that's only because we choose not to stand out. In truth, our influence is anything but small.
The man barked.
Shut up. Why the hell are you telling him everything?
The woman suddenly snapped at him.
Sorry, but does it really matter? He's going to die soon, anyway. If your friend couldn't kill me, even with a rod of destruction, what can the two of you little sheep do to me?
Yuan chuckled. Their eyes went wide, astonishment all over their faces, as Yuan's words were nothing short of unbelievable. Gu Ruyan had a Tier 2 rod of destruction, which could instantly kill anyone below the 3rd level of God Ascension. Yet, the man standing before them was only a golden immortal. Unless Gu Ruyan missed the attack, there was simply no chance that Yuan could have survived it.
What should we do, Sister Chun? If what he says is true, Zhuang Maojiang, are you an idiot? Of course he's bluffing. Now hurry up and kill him. I will take care of that thieving bitch.
She shouted. Zhuang Maojiang gave a hurried nod before drawing forth his battle axe, then charged toward Yuan in the next instant. Expecting Zhuang Maojiang to finish Yuan quickly, the woman surnamed Chen circled around the fight and rushed toward the injured woman. However, in their very first exchange, Yuan completely overpowered Zhuang Maojiang, sending him flying back before turning to confront the woman.
What the hell are you doing, Zhuang Maojiang? Stop playing around and kill him already. What the?
Zhuang Maojiang's face twisted in shock as he realized he had just lost to Yuan's sword. His cultivation was higher, and his battle axe should have held the advantage in direct clashes, yet he still lost, and so decisively at that. However, the woman's voice jolted him back to his senses, and he forcefully shook off his shock before flying at Yuan once more. This time, he didn't just use raw strength.
Heavy Dragon's Descent.
Zhuang Maojiang raised his battle axe high, activating a martial technique that caused the weapon to swell in size. Once it had grown several times larger, he brought it down in a vertical slash aimed at Yuan.
Oomph.
Yuan sneered and casually swung his sword upward, meeting Zhuang Maojiang's axe head-on once again. When their weapons collided, the mountains behind Yuan and the ground beneath them split apart. Yet Yuan stood perfectly fine, his grip steady, his stance unshaken, barely moving from the clash. After refining the dragon ancestor's blood essence, Yuan's raw power had skyrocketed, surpassing not only the limits of humans but even those of dragons. At this moment, there was no one who could rival him in sheer strength, and this doesn't even take into account his true dragon awakening, which would only further boost his strength.
Scram.
Yuan swung his sword the next moment, sending Zhuang Maojiang and his axe flying into the distance.
Impossible.
The woman surnamed Chen exclaimed after witnessing their exchange.
Who the hell are you? I already gave you my name.
He calmly responded.
That's not what I meant.
She cried out loud. However, her brows suddenly twitched, and her eyes slowly widened as though she had just realized something.
Wait a second, Yuan. That's the name of the madman who slaughtered the Lord of Spirit Heaven, along with the leaders of the 7 legacy families that ruled there. How are you still alive? I was told you had been taken care of. Sorry to disappoint you. But as you can see, I am very much alive.
The woman gritted her teeth and drew her weapon, a purple sword that radiated an ominous aura that distorted the very air around it. Yuan raised his eyebrows when he saw her familiar-looking sword, but before he could even say anything, the sword in his grasp trembled, and Zi Xian's voice boomed inside his head.
That's my sword.
The sword in the woman's grasp was none other than Violet Dream, one of the exalted blacksmith's earliest creations. It was also something he had given to Zi Xian in the past. And Zi Xian, who had been asleep this entire time, was jolted awake by its familiar aura.
You should have stayed hidden after barely escaping with your life last time. Now that you've shown yourself, I'll make sure to finish the job.
The woman said as she leveled Violet Dream at Yuan's face.
This bitch.
Zi Xian growled, her trembling voice on the verge of erupting.
Not only is she tainting my treasure with her filthy hands, but she dares to point it at you. I'll tear her apart, limb by limb. Calm down. There's no need to waste your energy on a weakling like her.
Yuan said quickly, trying to soothe her anger.
But my Violet Dream. Don't worry, I'll get it back for you. All right, but you better hurry, or I might accidentally do it myself.
Meanwhile, the woman surnamed Chen suddenly felt a chill run down her spine, and an unexplainable urge to flee seized her. Even though Zi Xian had not emerged from the sword, her killing intent was so overwhelming that it alerted Chen's survival instincts. Congratulations, you have finished listening to the current content. (2155 creators mark).
So, what are you going to do with that Violet Dream? Put me into an eternal slumber.
Yuan asked the woman, snapping her out of her daze.
You recognize this sword?
She muttered in a surprised tone, before quickly adding.
No, I shouldn't be surprised. This is a very famous sword, created by the legendary blacksmith, the exalted blacksmith, after all. Where'd you get it?
Yuan then asked.
That's none of your business. Instead of wasting your last few words on such questions, why don't you beg for your life instead? Beg for my life? I don't think I have done so in all my lives.
Yuan responded with a smile.
Lives?
The woman raised an eyebrow at his strange choice of words but dismissed it as a slip of the tongue.
Sister Chun, let's fight him together. He's far more powerful than he appears.
Zhuang Maojiang shouted as he finally returned after being sent flying into the distance. He could still feel his arms trembling from his clash with Yuan. Lady Chen then spoke.
Get him.
At her command, Zhuang Maojiang lunged at Yuan from behind as Lady Chen pressed in from the front. However, it didn't take long for them to realize that defeating Yuan wouldn't be easy, even when attacking together. They could not fathom how they were being held at bay by one bound to the golden immortal realm. Sometime later, as they were beginning to lose hope, Gu Ruyan and Lin Caney finally returned to their side.
What the fuck? That bastard is still alive. Gu Ruyan, you imbecile. You recklessly used the Rod of Destruction and didn't even kill your target.
Lin Caney shouted after seeing Yuan.
That's impossible.
Gu Ruyan exclaimed in a startled voice, sounding like he'd just witnessed a ghost.
I'm certain that the Rod of Destruction had attached to him. His presence even completely vanished after the explosion. Then are you trying to say that we're looking at a ghost right now? One's that's fighting Sister Chen and Zhuang Maojiang.
Lin Caney pointed at Yuan's figure in the distance. Gu Ruyan gritted his teeth and said,
I don't know how he managed to survive, but we can figure that out later. We need to help them first. That bastard is much stronger than his cultivation suggests.
Without any hesitation, the two of them joined the fight the very next moment.
Welcome back.
Yuan said to them.
What took you two idiots so long to come back?
Lady Chen reprimanded.
We had to make sure nobody saw the Rod of Destruction going off, so we took a slight detour.
Lin Caney explained.
Whatever. Let's hurry up and kill this bastard. The White Hell Frost Lotus is waiting for us.
And so, Yuan was forced to contend with all four God Ascension cultivators simultaneously. The injured woman, witnessing this, could only stare in stunned silence, her lips parted and her face awash with disbelief.
What's taking you so long to take care of a few pipsqueaks? Hurry up and kill them.
Zi Xian urged, her patience running thin.
Then why don't you remove some of the restrictions you have placed on the sword? I should be strong enough to handle more now.
Said Yuan, referring to the number one under heaven having its power limited by her due to his lack of cultivation.
I guess it's fine to loosen a few restrictions right now, but you are still far away from handling me at my full potential.
The next moment. Sword Spirit, Zi Xian, has removed a restriction placed upon number one under heaven. Number one under heaven has been updated. Unique ability, 5 when wielding number one under heaven, the wielder's sword aura efficiency and power are increased by 100,000%. Sometime later, when they still hadn't managed to defeat Yuan, Lady Chen shouted in frustration.
Restrict his movements for me.
To unleash Violet Dream's ability, she needed to land a direct hit, but so far, she hadn't even touched Yuan. At her command, the other three immediately charged at Yuan, intent on pinning him down so Lady Chen could strike. Yuan smiled at their attempts and said,
Even if you manage to land a hit, Violet Dream won't affect me. You're bluffing.
Lady Chen snapped.
You think so? Then go ahead.
Yuan suddenly ceased moving, spreading his arms wide in a defenseless stance as he beckoned her forward. Without hesitation, Lady Chen lunged forward and stabbed the Violet Dream directly in his chest, purposefully avoiding his heart so he wouldn't die immediately. After landing her strike, Lady Chen immediately tried to activate Violet Dream's ability. But her expression darkened when she realized it wasn't responding. Since number one under heaven was out, it had sealed Violet Dream's ability, turning it into an ordinary sword. However, even without number one under heaven, Violet Dream still wouldn't have any effect on Yuan.
Why isn't it working?
Lady Chen cried, violently shaking the sword as though she could force it awake.
It's useless.
Yuan suddenly said as he moved his arm and pointed at the Violet Dream before uttering.
Reveal yourself.
In the next instant, a glowing symbol surfaced on the sword's blade, radiating a divine aura.
This is...
Lady Chen's eyes widened in a daze as she stared at the golden symbol, unable to believe what she was seeing.
Isn't that the Creator's mark?
Gu Ruyan remarked, shock flashing across his face.
What? But isn't that something only its creator can reveal?
Lin Caney cried. A creator's mark is something blacksmiths embed within their creations as proof of authorship, serving both as a signature and a means of verifying the weapon's legitimacy. Although anyone could see the creator's mark on a treasure, only its creator could activate it.
Wait, if the mark has manifested at this moment, does that mean he's the creator?
Zhuang Maojiang questioned, his voice laced with confusion. Nobody answered his question, as they didn't want to believe the implications. After a long silence, Lady Chen slowly lifted her gaze from the sword to Yuan, who hovered before them with a cold smile.
Impossible.
She muttered. 2,156 barbarians.
That's impossible. You can't possibly be the exalted blacksmith.
Lady Chen shouted, her voice sharp enough to cut through the air.
I know. This sword must be a fake. It can't be the real Violet Dream.
Desperately, she created an excuse, however absurd it may be. To her, it was still more reasonable than accepting the notion that Yuan could be the exalted blacksmith.
You can believe whatever you want, but it won't change the fact that you're holding on to something that belongs to me.
Yuan said as he beckoned for the weapon.
Hand me the sword, and I will grant you a painless death. Refuse, and I will take it myself, along with your fingers, perhaps even your limbs.
Yuan said as his aura surged violently. Seeing this, the four of them tensed instantly, and Lady Chen quickly drew her rod of destruction. Yuan glanced at the rod in her grasp and smiled.
Have you already forgotten? Your companion tried that on me once before, but here I am, still alive. If one isn't enough, how about two?
Lin Caney barked, drawing his own rod of destruction.
I have one as well.
Zhuang Maojiang shouted, quickly brandishing his rod after the others. Seeing this, Gu Ruyan could only watch with clenched fists.
I'm flattered, but it doesn't matter how many of those you bring out. You won't kill me.
Yuan said with a calm smile.
Then prove it with your life.
Lady Chen snapped, spiritual energy surging as she poured it into the rod of destruction. When the other two noticed Lady Chen truly preparing to unleash the rod of destruction, they quickly funneled their spiritual energy into their own treasures. The smile on Yuan's face suddenly stiffened, his expression darkening.
So it was all a bluff. You're actually trembling in fear, aren't you?
Lady Chen laughed mockingly. In truth, Yuan had no concern for their rods of destruction, as such weapons were beneath his notice. His frown was born from something far more troubling. In the very next instant, several powerful presences emerged, surrounding them. Before the others could even react, many silhouettes materialized, encircling them completely.
What the? Who the hell are you?
Gu Ruyan shouted. Lady Chen opened her mouth to speak, but the words died in her throat as she realized that their encirclement was made entirely of God Ascension powerhouses. While the other four panicked, Yuan remained calm, his gaze sweeping over their encirclement. There were exactly 22 figures, each clad in crude garments of thick animal fur, their rugged features giving them the appearance of barbarians. As for these barbarians, their attention was focused on the rods of destruction in Lady Chen and the others' grasp.
What do you want from us?
Zhuang Maojiang stammered. One of the barbarians finally spoke, though his words weren't directed at him.
Is that the weapon you saw?
A calm, gentle voice echoed the next moment.
Yes, that is the weapon responsible for the explosion, the one that devastated much of our land.
The barbarian who had first spoken stepped forward, his voice carrying authority.
The 6 of you will come with us. Refuse, and you will die where you stand. Who the hell are you to tell us what to do? Do you even realize who we are? We are.
Lin Caney scoffed, his voice dripping with challenge. However, he never even got to finish his sentence, as the barbarian leader's arm blurred through the air, and in the next instant, Lin Caney's head was sent flying, severed cleanly from his body. Of course, as a God Ascension cultivator, losing his body did not mean losing his life. But the one who struck did not pause, and after severing Lin Caney's head, he extended his hand in a grasping motion toward the lingering soul. An immense pressure coiled around Lin Caney's soul, then crushed it without mercy. This was all done in an instant, faster than anyone could even blink, leaving the other 3 wide-eyed, trembling in shock and fear. Lin Caney's corpse began falling from the sky, but one of the barbarians went to retrieve it.
Anyone else have any objections?
The barbarian leader asked. Lady Chen and the others hastily shook their head in silence, too afraid to even speak. And so, Yuan and the others had no choice but to follow the barbarians deeper into White Hell. Of course, this included the injured woman.
What's happening?
She stuck close to Yuan and asked him.
We'll know in a bit.
He responded in a calm voice. He then glanced at her and asked.
How's your condition? Can you endure the cold?
The woman looked at the sunstone in her grasp for a moment before responding.
I'm fine for now, but I don't think my sunstone will last much longer.
Yuan then said.
Don't worry, nothing will happen to you. I promise to help you, so I will get you out of here safely. Alright, by the way, I don't think I have introduced myself yet. My name is Yao Qin. Nice to meet you, Yao Qin.
Yuan smiled. Gu Ruyan and the other 2 were in utter disbelief. While they trembled at the thought of being kidnapped by these unknown barbarians, Yuan appeared completely at ease, almost as if their current predicament didn't exist at all, and he was just with a group of old pals. The barbarians, too, noticed his calm demeanor and grew curious. Within their ranks, one individual fixed their eyes on Yuan, watching him with far greater intensity than the others. Yuan noticed the intent gaze and boldly turned to confront it. Positioned at the very back of the formation was a figure wrapped in a great fur robe that concealed most of their features. Yet what could not be hidden were their eyes, clear, piercing blue, and as immaculate as untouched ice beneath a winter sky. Though he didn't recognize the individual, a strange sense of familiarity stirred within him. Suddenly, the image of a silhouette riding a massive mammoth, which he had glimpsed upon first entering the 7th region, surfaced in his mind. So you were that silhouette, huh? Yuan thought inwardly. 2157 Barbarians, 2. After several days of travel, the barbarians halted at the border of the 8th region, where a small settlement unexpectedly stood. Lady Chen and the others were stunned. None of them had believed it was possible for anyone to survive White Hell's extreme environment long enough to build a home there. Shortly after arriving, the barbarians gathered them together and stood around them in silence. After several long minutes of silence, Gu Rian finally gathered the courage to ask.
What are you going to do to us?
The barbarians turned their gazes on him, and the sheer weight of their eyes made him tremble with fear.
What do you think we're going to do?
A calm voice suddenly replied. Gu Rian and the others turned toward the sound, where a tall figure stepped out from one of the nearby buildings. She was a tall, muscular woman, her frame radiating dominance. From her surged an overwhelming aura, the unmistakable might of an expert at the 7th level of God Ascension. Following closely behind her was the barbarian who killed Lin Caney, as well as the individual riding the giant mammoth.
It's how should I know? You're the ones who kidnapped us, without a word of explanation.
Gu Rian finally replied.
Without explanation, you say?
The muscular woman lifted her arm, revealing the rod of destruction taken from Lin Caney's corpse.
Because of this little toy, you not only destroyed a large part of our territory, but also killed one of our people.
She said coldly.
No way.
Gu Rian muttered in a daze.
I didn't know there were people living inside White Hell, much less in the 7th region, hence why I decided to use it.
He said.
I don't care for your reasoning. It doesn't change the fact that one of our people is dead because of you. Wait just a second.
Lady Chen suddenly cut in.
He's the one who triggered that weapon and killed your people. Why drag all of us into this? You've already killed one of ours, so why not call it even? Call it even?
The barbarian snarled, her glare burning into Lady Chen.
Do you truly believe your lives are worth the same as ours? Even if we slaughtered every last one of you, it still wouldn't repay the loss of a single one of our people. That's unreasonable.
Zhuang Maojiang cried.
Unreasonable.
The barbarian retorted coldly.
I heard you were ready to unleash this weapon again before my people intervened. If not for them, even more of our land would have been reduced to ruin.
Yuan then spoke.
I understand why you'd want their lives, but what about me and her?
He gestured to Yao Qin, who was standing so close to him that she was essentially hugging his body with hers.
We're also their victims.
He continued. The barbarian sneered.
Victims or not, it doesn't change the fact that you are involved. If you hadn't started a fight with them, they wouldn't have needed to use the weapon in the first place.
Yuan sighed at her response.
Since you've clearly made up your mind, there's no point in arguing. So tell me, what do you intend to do with us for our crimes?
The barbarian's eyes narrowed.
Simply executing you would be far too easy. And besides, it would be a waste, as few ever venture this deep into White Hell.
A vicious smile curved across her lips as she continued.
Here's how it will be. Your men will serve as training dummies for our warriors, and your women will entertain them in other ways.
Lady Chen and Yao Qin's expressions turned grim at the barbarian's words.
I'd sooner die than become a toy for you savages.
Lady Chen shouted, drawing her rod of destruction.
You were fools not to strip us of our treasures.
The barbarian laughed.
We didn't take your treasures because we're not the least bit worried. I can kill you long before you even think of activating that weapon.
Lady Chen gritted her teeth, feeling powerless before these brutes.
If you kill us, our families will avenge us. They'll wipe out your insignificant clan.
Lady Chen shouted desperately. The barbarian sneered.
Do you know how long we've lived here? We know White Hell like the back of our hands. Your families would die long before they even reach us. And even if a few survived, they'd never be able to pursue us through this place. That's.
Lady Chen faltered, unable to find her words, and fell silent. The others, too, sank into despair as the weight of their situation settled over them. Yuan alone remained calm, unshaken amidst the tension. At that moment, the cloaked figure who had been watching Yuan all along could no longer restrain their curiosity and slowly approached him. Standing before Yuan, the figure finally spoke.
Why aren't you afraid?
The voice was that of a young woman, clear and unassuming.
Should I be afraid?
Yuan replied with a calm smile. The figure glanced at the others, trembling in fear, before turning back to him.
Is it because of your body?
She asked.
My body? What are you talking about?
Yuan asked with his eyebrows slightly raised.
I noticed it the first time I saw you 20 years ago. Your body is different from the others.
She said. At her words, the surrounding barbarians narrowed their eyes at Yuan. They, too, could sense something unusual about him, though none could discern exactly what it was.
Now that you mention it.
The other female barbarian stepped forward, studying Yuan intently.
His body isn't being affected by White Hell's environment at all. If anything, it looks as though it grows stronger with each passing moment. It's a bit similar to our own physique.
After a brief silence, she continued.
You know what? Rather than letting the others kill you, we'll study your body instead.
Yuan let out a faint sigh.
I couldn't care less what you do with those 3 idiots, but if you harm me or my friend, I'll be left with no choice but to slaughter everyone here in self-defense.
His sharp words rang in the barbarians' ears, instantly igniting their auras and filling the air with killing intent. 2158 Absolute Dragon Awakening. After a long, tense silence, the barbarian suddenly burst into laughter, her voice so powerful it rattled the air itself.
You'll slaughter us all? With what? Your pitiful cultivation base.
She mocked.
I wouldn't recommend it, but you're more than welcome to find out.
Yuan responded with a calm smile on his handsome face. The barbarian's grin vanished, replaced by a chilling frown.
I dislike you. Arrogant, weak, and oblivious. You don't even know when to hold your tongue.
Without giving Yuan a chance to respond, she lifted her arm high and struck. In the blink of an eye, his head was reduced to nothing.
Yuan.
Yao Qin cried, her eyes going wide with horror. How could it be? He had fallen so easily, when only moments ago his calm and confidence had seemed unshakable. Seeing this, Lady Chen muttered.
I knew he was bluffing this entire time. I should have killed him when I had the chance.
Strangely, even after his head had been annihilated, Yuan's body showed no sign of collapse. It stood tall and unwavering, exuding the eerie impression that he was still very much alive.
How unpleasant.
The barbarian clicked her tongue and reached for Yuan's body. Though she had destroyed his head, she had deliberately left the rest intact since she still intended to study his physique. What followed left the barbarian, and everyone else, frozen in shock. The headless corpse moved. Against all logic, it raised an arm and caught the barbarian's hand in an unyielding grip. Then, everyone watched as Yuan's destroyed head regenerated completely.
Heavens! It's a monster!
The barbarians cried out loud. Once Yuan's regeneration was finished, he calmly stared at the barbarian before him and said,
You'll need to do more than just destroy my head to kill me. What the hell are you?
The barbarian muttered in a low voice.
Is that how he survived the rod of destruction?
Gu Ruyan stared at Yuan in a daze. The barbarian yanked and twisted, trying to break away from Yuan's grip. But to her utter disbelief, she could not budge an inch. His grasp was immovable, heavy as if a mountain itself were shackled to her arm. What is happening? His raw strength. It's beyond comprehension, the barbarian cried inwardly, panic flashing in her eyes. While she was still caught in disbelief, Yuan pulled his other arm back and unleashed a devastating punch toward her face. Despite being lost in thought, the barbarian still managed to intercept Yuan's punch. But his strength was monstrous and beyond her comprehension. The instant their clash resounded, her body was wrenched from the ground, and before she even understood what had happened, she was sent crashing backward.
Chief Mu.
The other barbarians exclaimed in shock after seeing her being pushed back by a mere golden immortal. The female barbarian, Chief Mu, quickly steadied herself in midair, though the shock on her face lingered and refused to fade. After staring at Yuan in silence, excitement suddenly lit up Chief Mu's face. Her cultivation burst forth in the next instant, flooding the area with tyrannical pressure.
I don't care who or what you are. Survive 10 of my attacks, and I'll let you and your friend live.
She declared. Yuan's lips curved into a smile.
You better not go back on your word, or I'll kill you.
As Yuan stepped forward, he activated Absolute Dragon Awakening, the evolved form of true dragon awakening after consuming the dragon ancestor's blood essence. His aura soared skyward, surging to unimaginable heights. Compared to his former true dragon awakening, this new power was at least 100 times stronger. More astonishing still, his cultivation, which had stagnated at Golden Immortal, suddenly shattered its bottleneck, propelling him into true Immortal. Yet this advancement was not a true breakthrough but merely a temporary boost brought on by Absolute Dragon Awakening. For that reason, it could not be counted toward his quest. Chief Mu could scarcely believe what she was seeing, her features frozen in bewildered awe. And yet, instead of fear, a spark of exhilaration flared ever brighter in her eyes. Since his opponent was a 7th-level God Ascension powerhouse, Yuan couldn't afford to go easy. Not only did he use Absolute Dragon Awakening, but he also retrieved number 1 under heaven to fight Chief Mu. Though she stood at the 7th level of God Ascension, an expert nearing the peak of the cultivation world, Chief Mu didn't dare underestimate Yuan, despite him being merely an immortal. She summoned her weapon, a pair of axes gleaming with a chilling light, as though carved from pure ice. Gripping them firmly, she advanced to confront Yuan. With number 1 under heaven in hand, Yuan cloaked it in his supreme sword aura. Enhanced by its 5th unique ability, the aura sharpened to an unimaginable degree, so keen that even the slightest movement seemed to rend the fabric of space, leaving a visible scar in the air. In response, Chief Mu coated her axes with supreme axe aura. Yet compared to Yuan's enhanced supreme sword aura, hers was clearly inferior. To bridge the gap, she infused her weapons with celestial qi. When they clashed a split second later, their weapon auras erupted outward, tearing countless slits through the surrounding space and exposing the ominous void beyond. Yet, in the next breath, the wounds in reality swiftly mended themselves.
That's one.
Yuan said.
I can see why you're so damn arrogant, but you still have to survive 9 more strikes.
Chief Mu exclaimed as she prepared her second strike. Meanwhile, Gu Ruyan and the others could only watch in stunned disbelief.
We've been fighting a monster like that this whole time.
Lady Chen murmured in a daze.
Impossible. How can an outsider wield such power?
Gu Ruyan collapsed to his knees in despair. Yao Qin remained silent, yet the astonishment in her eyes spoke louder than words. The barbarian wrapped in fur robes narrowed her eyes on Yuan, seemingly in deep thought. Moments later, Chief Mu unleashed her second strike, and Yuan confronted it with a smile. 21-59-10 strikes from Chief Mu. Chief Mu's second strike carried even greater force than her first. When it collided with Yuan's, the clash of their weapon auras unleashed a ripple that cleaved every mountain within 1,000 miles cleanly in half. After using her second strike and seeing Yuan emerge completely unscathed, Chief Mu understood that ordinary attacks would not be able to defeat a monster like him. On her third strike, Chief Mu gathered her spiritual energy and prepared to launch a martial technique.
Glacial roar.
Chief Mu smashed her axes together, sending millions of tiny ice shards in Yuan's direction. Despite their small size, each of these shards was powerful enough to kill immortals. Yet, Yuan didn't even bother blocking them, merely using his physique to endure them. Your cold resistance has improved greatly.
Heavens! He used nothing but his body to block Chief Mu's glacial roar. I've never seen anything like that before.
The barbarian stared in astonishment. Realizing that spiritual energy had no effect on Yuan, Chief Mu immediately shifted to using immortal qi. Though she was capable of wielding celestial qi with ease, she held back, as she was enjoying their battle too much to end it quickly. For her fourth strike, Chief Mu raised her axes high. In the next instant, they swelled to the size of mountains before crashing down toward Yuan's figure, tiny and ant-like in comparison. In response, Yuan activated number 1 under Heaven's third ability, increasing the size of his sword to match Chief Mu's axes. Whoosh! Their clash unleashed a ripple of force so immense that every trace of snow in the surrounding land was erased in an instant. At the point of collision, space itself fractured once more, dark cracks spreading wide, and unlike before, the damage lingered, struggling to mend. Once again, Yuan endured her attack without any injuries. Just how many tricks does this monster have up his sleeves? Chief Mu cried inwardly as she prepared her fifth strike. For her fifth, sixth, and seventh strikes, Chief Mu continued to wield immortal qi, each time pouring in drastically more than before, and every single clash resulted in the space around them breaking. After their seventh clash, the skies above White Hell darkened over Yuan's battlefield, as though the heavens were warning them to cease or suffer its wrath.
Look at the sky. It suddenly turned dark.
One of the barbarians exclaimed.
You're right, but why? It's not even close to nightfall, and it feels unnatural. Heaven's wrath.
Gu Ruyan muttered in a daze.
If they continue, they will have to face Heaven's judgment.
Their clash had reached such terrifying heights that even the heavens stirred, fearing the disastrous destruction that would follow if it were allowed to continue. Chief Mu glanced at the dark clouds for a brief moment before disregarding them. As for Yuan, he didn't even spare it a glance, his gaze and focus remaining on Chief Mu like a predator locked onto its prey. Chief Mu sneered after seeing Yuan's calm demeanor and said,
All right, enough playing around. I'll get serious now.
After saying that, celestial qi surged within her body.
Thank God. I was beginning to think that was all you had as a 7th-level God Ascension powerhouse.
Yuan said sarcastically.
I suppose it's only fair I get serious too.
As his words fell, Yuan's aura erupted violently, so fierce it momentarily split apart the dark clouds above.
He wasn't going all out this entire time.
Zhuang Maojiang exclaimed in a terrified voice.
What an ominous aura he has. Is he even human?
The barbarian subconsciously stepped back after sensing Yuan's chaotic essence. However, Yuan wasn't done yet. The very next moment, celestial qi began gathering around his body, boosting his aura even more.
You can use celestial qi?
Chief Mu couldn't contain her surprise and cried out loud.
It's only celestial qi. What are you so surprised about?
Yuan calmly responded.
There's no way he's using celestial qi as a golden immortal. He must be hiding his true cultivation. It's no wonder he could match Chief Mu. Everything makes sense now.
The barbarian said, convinced that Yuan was just suppressing his cultivation.
No, that's his real cultivation.
The barbarian wrapped in fur robes remarked.
What? How is that possible?
The barbarians looked at her with puzzled faces.
If he's really just an immortal, how is his body able to endure it?
She opened her mouth only to instantly close it back up before silently shaking her head, as she was just as puzzled as the rest of them. Suddenly, another voice rang out.
Even refining physique. That's how he's doing it.
At those words, everyone turned in shock. An old woman had appeared among them without a sound, as if she were a ghost.
Gegrandemu.
The barbarian stared at her with wide eyes.
Grandmother, what are you doing here? Weren't you in seclusion?
The fur-robed barbarian asked. Granny Mu glanced at Yuan and Chief Mu before replying.
With this kind of commotion, who could possibly concentrate? If I force myself to continue, I'd only end up injured.
Lady Chen and the others swallowed nervously at the old woman's presence. Though no aura radiated from her, they could tell she was anything but ordinary, perhaps even stronger than Chief Mu herself.
By the way, what was it you just mentioned? Even refining physique.
The fur-robed barbarian continued to ask. Granny Mu stared at Yuan's figure for a moment before responding.
It's a one-of-a-kind physique, so only one of them can exist at any given time. The last person to possess it stood uncontested at the peak of the cultivation world. To be honest, even I do not know its full capabilities, but I can say this much. Back then, its wielder was unrivaled. In that case, shouldn't we stop my mother before she kills him? It'd be such a waste to kill someone with such a rare and powerful physique.
Granny Mu burst out laughing at her words and quickly said.
If he's who I think he is, your mother won't be able to kill him.
The barbarians stared at her with their eyes filled with disbelief, wondering if she knew Yuan. 2160 Granny Mu. Hearing such words, the fur-robed barbarian asked what was on everyone's mind.
Grandmother, you know him? Hard to say.
She calmly responded.
He looks exactly like someone I once knew, but his cultivation is much lower, and there's something different about him. That said, the one I knew disappeared millions of years ago, but with his cultivation I wouldn't be surprised if he is still alive. Is this person the same one you would constantly reminisce about to Mother and me?
The fur-robed barbarian asked. Granny Mu responded with a silent nod of her head. In the next instant, Chief Mu delivered her eighth blow, merging her martial technique with celestial qi to unleash a strike of devastating force. Yuan, however, met it head-on, unflinching. An exhilarated smile spread across his face. It had been ages since he'd been able to fight with his full strength, and the thrill of it set his blood ablaze. Right before the clash, Granny Mu released her celestial qi, enveloping the barbarian settlement to shield it from the impending blast. Just as Granny Mu raised the barrier, a violent ripple tore through the land. Everything within 10,000 miles was erased, save for what her protection covered. Their clash not only reshaped White Hell's landscape but also left behind a massive crater. However, moments after the cataclysm, the broken terrain began to mend on its own. This was no miracle, but a natural occurrence in places where spiritual energy condensed so heavily that even the land restored itself, some faster than others, depending on the area. After the clash, Yuan slowly wiped his face with his hand, only to see a faint smear of blood. It was the first time he had been injured, but the wound was nothing more than a shallow cut, so insignificant it barely counted as an injury at all. He turned to Chief Mu, who looked unscathed. Though her body bore no wounds, the shock of Yuan's unfathomable existence had damaged her mind. Meanwhile, the dark clouds above swelled outward, their shade deepening into an even heavier darkness.
Maybe we should have taken this fight somewhere else, a place where we cannot be disturbed.
Chief Mu spoke as she looked at the dark clouds with a slight frown on her face. Yuan smiled and said,
What are you scared of? It's just some dark clouds. It'll go away sooner or later.
Chief Mu narrowed her eyes.
Just some dark clouds? Don't tell me you've never faced a heavenly tribulation before. On the contrary,
Yuan replied calmly.
I've experienced them several times.
Chief Mu wasn't surprised to hear that Yuan had already experienced several heavenly tribulations because of how heaven-defying his existence was.
Anyway, Enough yapping and give me your 9th strike.
Yuan said a moment later.
I don't have too much time to waste here.
Chief Mu's eyebrows twitched, and she spoke in an annoyed tone.
You're so certain that you will endure all 10 of my strikes, huh? Unfortunately for you, that won't happen.
Suddenly, Chief Mu released a chilling aura that made Yuan's skin crawl. This cold was unlike the frigid air of white hell, it was something else, something otherworldly. Your cold resistance has drastically increased. Yuan blinked in surprise at the notification. Chief Mu's chilling aura was so intense that merely standing near her gave him the same result as enduring the 7th region of white hell. Is this the secret to how they can live within white hell? He wondered inwardly, his curiosity piqued. Chief Mu then spoke with a confident smile on her face.
Forget about the 10th strike. If you survive this 9th attack, I'll consider it your win.
Yuan nodded.
If you say so.
This time, Chief Mu took her time preparing for the next strike. Her cold aura steadily intensified, soon surpassing even the 7th region's frost. It grew so dense and concentrated that it condensed into a semi-transparent armor around her body. Yuan briefly considered taking the attack head-on to temper his body, but quickly dismissed the thought. The cold radiating from her felt potent enough to freeze even his soul. Realizing what Chief Mu was trying to do, Granny Mu hastily said to the others.
Get as far away as you can from here.
Without hesitation, all of the barbarians turned to flee in the opposite direction from the battlefield.
Wait. What about us?
Lady Chen exclaimed.
And who the hell are you?
Granny Mu looked at them with raised eyebrows. The fur-robed barbarian proceeded to explain their situation to her.
I see. Then you will remain where you stand. If you can survive the aftermath, I may consider letting you go.
Granny Mu said, a cold smile curling her lips.
No way.
Lady Chen and the others collapsed to their knees, their eyes fixed on Yuan and Chief Mu. As Chief Mu's aura swelled in preparation for her 9th strike, Yuan braced himself. His chaotic essence surged to its fullest, and he summoned forth the true primordial fire. Flames of primordial origin erupted around him, engulfing his figure until he stood encased in an infernal armor, radiating heat that defied the very cold closing in on him. On top of that, Yuan brought out all of his treasures, such as the robes of destruction and the Soul Emperor's crown, treasures he had decided to wear only when he was fighting in earnest. After all, Yuan was already overwhelmingly strong without relying on treasures. If he wore them all the time, he would feel no excitement in battle, and worse, it would only hinder his training. Gu Ruyan and the others stared in disbelief, mouths agape, as Yuan covered himself in treasures of immense power. Until this moment, they had been certain he was already fighting with the aid of treasures to overcome their differences in cultivation, but seeing him summon them now proved how wrong they had been. As though the treasures weren't enough, Yuan also activated God of War's astral arts, wrapping himself in yet another layer of protection. Chief Mu also completed her preparations at the same time. She looked at Yuan and muttered.
Oh, it was brief. I had fun. Unfortunately, it's time for you to die now.
Congratulations, you have finished listening to the current content.